Welcome back to VFR, everybody, and today we are continuing our DC-6 career mode. We are here on the ground in Madrid, and we're just getting off of our Navy transport that got us out here. Lovely livery available on flightsim.to. I didn't make this one, but it is very nice. We'll have to fly it around sometime. But we're going to head on over to Old Reliable here across the ramp at Madrid. And today we're going to be picking up our DC-6 and heading it back to RAF Mildenhall. Now, this is going to be one of the longer flights that I've done, still not really pushing the envelope, per se, of the DC-6, but it is going to be about 2.5 hours. So, there's some considerations there. So there's some terrain considerations coming out of Madrid, which we will have to think about. And, yeah, as always, there's the approach into Mildenhall. Weather is beautiful today. It was clear skies and a very light wind. So, not a lot of weather to contend with today, but we should be heading into, if not the dark, at least the sunset. So, let's hop up into the cockpit and get started. Alright, so welcome back to the flight deck, everybody. We are getting set. I'm just going to pull up our orders real quick. So, just to refresh where we left off last time in Berlin, we got orders to head to Madrid, which we hitched a ride on that Navy plane down to LEMD, and we're heading back to EGUN. That's RAF Mildenhall. No other legs. That's the only leg today, so we're going to be heading straight there. The time of departure is going to be 4 o'clock. It's about 3:45 now, so we'll hopefully make that. And we've got clear conditions, so not bad. We're going to be relieving our primary crew, which flew into Madrid. They're going to be heading back across the Atlantic via the Azores, and we're going to be flying personnel back to RAF Mildenhall. Now, of course, this is a cargo airplane in the sim, so that's not exactly modeled, but we're saying about 14,500 pounds of people are strapped into the back there. Now, if we pull up a little Nav Map, we're going to just go through the route really quick. We are departing out of here, Madrid, and you'll notice there are some mountains around here. Now, you can also see it at the very bottom of the window. Along that kind of ticker is going to show you your elevation as well. It's going to be tight heading out of here. So we'll be basically departing out to this, I believe we'll be departing out to the north on 32 left. The winds are 307 at 7, I believe. So we'll be departing out to the north, and then we'll probably loop to the left and around, just to give us some more room to climb away from these mountains. We shouldn't have a problem. We're starting out at about 4,000 feet, and we need to be clearing, basically, to be safe, 8,900, I think the VFR chart shows. We're shooting for 12,000 feet today, and then, but once we're clear of that, we can drop down to 10,000 for a more optimal climb, or for a more optimal cruise, if that's what we want to do. We're basically going to head out of 32 left. We're going to turn left and kind of loop back around, and we're going to get special permission from ATC to do that in my head. Then we're going to head to the RBO VR here on 113.95. And I'm going to write this down as I'm doing it because I will forget. And then we're going to make a right turn to the BAN VR at 112.8. So we'll be flying RBO outbound 046. And then we'll be flying BAN outbound 017. I'm just going to make a note of those first two just so that I kind of keep that in my head. Then it's going to be SSN 17.9 as we clear Spain and head over the Bay of Biscay, over across the Atlantic coast of France. We will make landfall. We're going to be tracking basically this one NDB here. I believe that's I'm not even going to try the French, but we're going to be heading that VOR or that NDB. And we're just going to kind of track that out until we pick up CAN out here. 114.4 something, 45 probably. And then we will cross the channel at MAY. And then it's just going to be straight into Mildenhall. If the wind holds, which it should, we will plan to land. We'll plan to land runway 29, which means we'll basically dive out to the right and then come back in and intercept that ILS. So that's the route. It's going to be, it shouldn't be terribly eventful, especially once we clear the terrain around Madrid. 6,500 looks like is our terrain warning. So that's why we're looping around, just to clear that. That's the big consideration here. Now we could divert out. There's a couple VRs, so we could really build it into the flight plan here and kind of loop around even further if I felt like we needed it. But I don't think we will. But as always, we will see. Also, we're going to be going straight to the runway. It's going to be pretty close. Now, the last thing. I'm also looking at little nav map. I just print out the... I export the flight plan as an HTML. And then it just has all the information that I need, the magnetic course, the true course, your VOR frequencies, what kind of nav aid it is. So this has been helpful for me just to export this out and pull it up in another window. It says 2 hours, 45 minutes, 12,000 feet. That's about right. Alright, so I'm going to have the guys run the before start checklist. I really do need to get around to learning all this, but I just haven't had a chance to fly it that much lately. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on our radios and everything. We'll program in RBO here. 113.95. And BAN on 112.8.
Auto in position. Fuel and fluids. Checked. Pressurization.
We'll come back up here and we'll put RBO in 112.8.
Manifold and duct pressure. Checked.
And SSN at 117.9.
Checked. Doors and hatches.
Yeah, you better close those. I opened them all up.
Closed. Door warning lights. Out. Gear pins.
So just going over fuel load manager real quick. I've got about 4,000 pounds in each tank. That should be more than enough to get us where we need to go. And our alternate, which is going to be our RAF fare for today. And we've got 14,500 in the main hold. We're not shoving anybody in the lower hold. They'll actually give us a tick or two of whatever bags they have. We should come over under the wet takeoff, so we should be a dry takeoff. We're relatively lightly loaded. And that's my cue. All right. Up to the main panel. Let's see where we're at. Boost pumps to low. Magnetos to both. Engines to 3. We're going to check, make sure we have fuel pressure. We do. And we're going to come back down. And I'm getting it all mixed up. So let's hit start.
3, 6, 9, 12.
Boost prime. And mixture auto rich. Up to check. Jimmy throttles. And then engine 4. Boost pumps to low. Selector to 4. Boost prime. Give it some mixture. And check the engines. Alright, that's the right side going. Engine 2. Magnetos to both. Fuel pumps to low. We'll fire it up.
3, 6, 9, 12.
Boost prime. Mixture. Check. And it looks like we got engine 2. Alright. One more. Magnetos to both. Fuel pump to low. Selector to 1. Let everything get set. Start engine.
3, 6, 9, 12.
Boost prime. Mixture. Engine 1, we've got oil pressure, we've got fuel pressure, we've got oil temps are rising. Carburetor's looking okay. And we're going to check the engine stress visualizer because I don't know what we're talking about. We're in the greens and blues. Alright. Engine started. Let's go. After takeoff, or after start checklist. Boost pump's coming off. Start selector is going to the off position. Battery's going to plain battery. We're going to remove the APU or the GPU. And we're going to make sure that our emergency lights are on. We'll turn on our position lights. Coming down mixture, going to be auto lean. Then we're going to go ahead and we talked through our flight plan. It is going to be, we're going to be taking off 3-2 left. We're going to be making a left-hand turn all the way around until we intercept the radial at RBO. And we should be flying 033 inbound. So we'll go ahead and tune that in here. Okay. Radios set, nav aids are set. Engines are looking okay. Engines are looking okay. We have taxi clearance. We're the only people here. Now, we're going to be taxiing, I believe. We're going to basically drive straight out, turn right onto 3-2 left out there. Area is clear, and parking brake is going to come off. And so we are departing. Looks like it's just about 4 o'clock, so we're right on time. We'll give it a Scotia power. And we're off the blocks. And yeah, once you get it going, it really takes off where it can. You just haven't found a power setting it really likes to stay at while taxiing. And we're going to run the before takeoff checklist now. Let's say run-up has been completed. They flew it in from the Azores earlier. Oil temperatures and carb temperatures are... it's a little low. So we'll let the engine simmer for a little bit while we run this. Windows and doors are closed and locked. Turn. We're going to go flaps 20 degrees down, which is 3 knots. And we're going to hold short at 3-2 left here. Parking brake's going on. Cow flaps. We're going to be 4 degrees. Open. We're going to put the boost pumps to low. Air conditioning controls are good. Flight instruments are looking okay. We need to remove the gust lock. I can find the click spot. And just do a control wipeout. Okay, looking good. Make sure you're going back to auto rich. And we're going to put our landing lights on. Alright, we are all set here. We're going to release the parking brake, and we're going to do the takeoff manually ourselves. Nothing too special about it today. We don't even have to do a wet takeoff. And we're rolling out here. I took the longest, or the furthest end of the runway I could, just in case. Alright, holding on the brakes, we're going to advance the throttle to 30 inches of mercury. Once we get that stabilized, we're going to go full power, which is going to be 54. It's the first red mark. It's the first red mark. Full power set. We're stabilized. I'm going to release. It is a dry takeoff, so she's not fast off the blocks. Airspeed is alive. We are passing 80, 90, 100. We're going to go ahead and rotate a little hard. And now she feels very light. That's good. Gear up. Flaps up. And we're going to come back to METO power. And now she really wants to go. So pull back pretty hard on the stick as we climb out of Madrid. We will try and keep our distance from city center. And we're going to come back all the way now to 40 inches for cruise power. And we're going to start bringing in the prop RPM. Altimeter showing us passing 3,500 now. Let's try and keep our climb out. So try to do a few things at once. So now we see the airfield off to our left. I'm basically just going to fly around behind it and loop. And we're going to trim for 165 knots. So we'll let the nose come down just a little bit. As Madrid passes by off to our right, I think this is the first time I've flown in Spain in the in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Very nice. Alright, we'll trim just a little bit back for 165. And once we're feeling good about that, we can go ahead and put the gyro pilot to work. Disconnect. On. And we can see where we are relative to the VR. It's pointing back and behind us now, which makes sense. That's the direction we need to be going. So just to prep, we're going to go into the alt tanks as well. Taking off on the main, we'll try and burn off whatever fuel we have in the alt tanks. We should have about 2,000 pounds, which might be enough to get us there, but we'll keep an eye on it. And now that we've cleared, we're going to go ahead and turn left. I'm going to give it a half-rate turn, out of respect for the folks in the back. I'm going to aim for one, at least. And now we're basically going to try and nail down that VOR. And I'm just waiting till the thin white needle kind of goes to that right 45. And we're actually in range enough that we can go ahead and put in the localizer mode now, once we get there, I'd say. We're at about 2,500 RPM, so I didn't quite finish that. And that's pretty good. We're going to go ahead and level it off. And to avoid that kind of last oscillation, I really need to start bringing this wheel in a little bit more before I hit the button to be smoother. You can see the needles coming in. We're going to go to localizer mode. And let the airplane do the thinking. Well, we watched the city go by. So yeah, Madrid was one of the stops that Mats would have stopped at on transatlantic flights. So, at least according to the map I saw on Wikipedia. It is actually a pretty neat map, which, go ahead and look at it. So this would be the Eastern Transport Air Force. Basically everything east of the United States and Atlantic. And you can see a bunch of places like Burtonwood that we don't actually have in the sim. But Prestwick, which I believe we'll be visiting at some point, I'd imagine it'll be hard. This is about 1964, so we're in, you know, I'm kind of considering us 1960, 1961, the 60s, early 60s. So this is fairly contemporary for our particular campaign. And as you can see, we're going into Madrid, but one of the big places that it would have went was the Azores. Not a lot of flights directly to Burtonwood, which is Mildenhall in our stand-in, but still a lot of fun. So you could fly, you know, looking at some of these routes, out from Canada to the Azores, Bermuda, or McGuire Air Force Base, I believe that's in New Jersey, 2,000 miles. Some of these might be fun to do. And then just making that jump over to Madrid, they might have gone straight into Burtonwood, 1,400 miles. DC-6 perfectly capable of this. We're really not even pushing anywhere close to the flight envelope. But that's enough maps and enough talking. I'm going to go ahead and stand by for a little bit while we climb out of Madrid. I'm going to go ahead and get out of the cockpit so we can watch Spain go by. Alright, so we're leveling off here at 12,000-ish feet, overshot a little bit, looking outside the window. So, we're going to come bring that back down to 12,000. We should be pretty clear of any terrain. I believe the highest parts we're going to be passing on our left now, actually. So, we made good climbing. We're pretty light relative to what the DC-6 can handle, so really not much of a factor. But if you're taking off heavy here, it might require some more thought. We're going to give it another knock just to get us back down to where we need to be. Practice a little mid-flight descent, and that'll help us get our speed back up too. We're already looking pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and run the cruise checklist. And the other thing is we've passed our waypoint. So what we need to do is go into localizer mode. We're in a gyropilot mode, take off localizer mode, and go 046. And dial in a right turn. We're just going to be fairly gentle with this. And once we level out, we'll let the guys run the cruise checklist just to give them power. That way every time I go into external view, I don't cut the power. As we make our right turn. Now if we want to look, we can go over to, and there's the localizer coming in. So let's start bringing it back. Start leveling it off. And we can go to localizer. It's going to pitch back now to pick it up. And once we're pretty happy... Ooh. We lost it. See, it's a little bit like spinning plates in the kitchen. You get a bunch of things happening at once, and you lose track of where you're going. We'll run the cruise checklist. Well, actually, let's wait, because now we got to climb back up a little bit. So we're passing 12,800, and that's one thing that's helped me pay better attention. It's just reading it out. Of course, I'm talking on a video, but even in your head, if you just mentally read it out to yourself, say, okay, well, where are we at with altitude? We're at 11,900. And we're coming up on 12,000. Just give it a little bit of glide wheel. Looks like it killed it. And get it just bang on. And if I were a pro YouTuber, I'd insert the cut right about now. And then come back in. Alright, cruise checklist.
Set cruise power, please. Setting cruise power.
And they're going to bring the power back. Just checking my VORs, make sure they're aligned. 2.8. And we'll check that against my little nav map.
Cruise power is set.
And we should be on this leg for about 40 nautical miles. If we check our nav 2, we should see we're about 20 miles away, which makes sense. So if we go back into localizer mode, we're going to go ahead and track inbound on that VOR. Let it come around. And we can go back into localizer mode. And so now we are tracking BAN inbound at 046. Our next maneuver will be a left turn, not a hard left turn, to 017. So we are in the cruise. I'm going to pop us into time-lapse mode, and we'll enjoy the sights as we head towards the coast. We should start thinking about our descent. Just to preview, really we'll start seriously thinking about it once we're crossing the channel. So that'll give us a little bit of time. The little nav map saying 60 nautical miles, but that's directly to the airport, but it has 3,000 feet. So it almost evens out, but it should be around that. I would imagine we're going to start descending around the last VOR, the MAY VOR, but we'll go ahead and go over those calculations once we get kind of over northern France. And we are now, as you can see, passing over the channel. So we're going to be entering into the channel. And we're beginning our final 150 or so miles towards RAF Mildenhall. So now we're going to talk through our descent plan. I've run the math, run the numbers. We are at 12,000 feet right now. We need to be down at 3,000 feet once we are setting up for the approach into Mildenhall. So we have to burn 9,000 feet, 9,000 times 5 nautical miles per 1,000 feet of descent. It's going to give us about 45 nautical miles. Add on 20 for our level off portion. That gives us about 65 miles. And because I'm a little late on the draw, I'm going to shoot for 70 nautical miles. Now, to figure out what that means for us, we're going to go ahead and look back at little nav map. So, as you can see, this last leg is 82 miles to Mildenhall, so it's pretty simple. We're basically going to be descending right before that top of descent marker there. Once we're 10 miles from the Mayfield VOR here, we are going to be starting our descent. 10 or so. So that's kind of, broadly speaking, that's the process of how I'm figuring it out, is basically figure out how far you need, and then back it out from the nearest waypoint and establish some kind of checkpoint, right? Where am I actually going to start descending? And it's going to be 10 miles past Mayfield. We could also look at it as 60 or 75, 60 to 75 nautical miles before from the Mildenhall VOR, because we're out of the way. We're still cruising here at, looks like ground speed about 250 knots. Just checking on our fuel, we're about 7,000 pounds of fuel. And that's, it looks like we're going to be pretty bang on a calculator. We're going to need about 2,500 pounds of fuel for each engine. So that's looking like it's going to be where we end up. But we need to remember to switch these back to the main tanks once we get in and set up for landing. And then the last thing, just checking on the engines, keeping an eye on it. We're looking pretty good. Oil temperatures are up there. They're about 80 degrees Celsius. So we'll keep an eye on that. It's showing us in the yellow right now. But again, just we'll keep an eye on that. So yeah, we are now cruising over the channel. We are going to, at some point, go over to the last VR, which is going to be 117.9, our second 117.9 of the day. And at that point, we'll be flying 013. So if you see here, we're just a little bit off, but I'm going to go ahead and lock it into localizer mode, and it'll pick it up and fly us outbound that way. And then we'll make our turn into Mildenhall. So not too eventful today, and hopefully it stays that way on the descent. So we'll go ahead and fly out, we'll prepare, we'll descend, and then I will catch up. Alright, welcome back everybody. We are now about to pass over the town of Haverhill. We're about 20 miles out from the airport, so right now I have my little distance monitor here set to Nav 2, which is just basically set to the TACAN station, which isn't going to give us any direction, but it's going to give us the distance here. So we're 20 miles away from there. We can verify that. We're now 62 nautical miles from MAY, the Mayfield VOR, and that's about right. Should add up to 82. So we're all square there. Once we're at 10 miles, we're going to be really looking to break off to the right and set up for the ILS. And we'll be basically, it's a nice day. We'll basically do that visually today. We're cruising along 3,000 feet. Our speed is down to, looks like 180. It's a little bit more to drop, but so far we're on time, on target. And we'll just look out front just to see when we can pick up the airport. And I believe should be able to see it shortly. Now once we start to turn and maneuver, we'll run the in-range checks, and then we will go ahead and get down. Clear sky, I think the wind is about 4 knots. From the northwest, so we're going to stick with runway 29, and I believe you can see the lights just up ahead, so there's the runway. We're going to begin our turn. So we're going to turn right. It's going to yell at me because it didn't like that. Alright, gyro pilot on, mechanical lock connected, and then we're going to set up a half rate. Try to dial up a half rate turn. Off to our right, we've got the field in sight. We're going to go ahead and run the Enraged Checklist.
Cooling turbine. Normal. Fuel booster pumps.
And we need to get altitude control back on.
Fuel tank selectors. Mains on, crossfeed off. Hydraulic bypass valve. Down. No smoking signs. On.
And we do have the ILS, so that's good.
Checks complete.
And we got the field. Right there, although there's always the danger of confusing it with Lake Anise. But our nav aids are telling us the same thing, so that's usually a good sign. So we're now in range. We're not going to get distance information yet, but we're 10 miles from the airport. And are basically on a kind of long downwind. Now, I could have programmed this into a little nav map and been more precise, and especially if there's bad weather, we'd want to do that. It would probably have directed us, instead of directly to the airport, it would probably take us to the edge of the ILS. So if you have to do this under combat conditions, that would be a good thing to do. But it's a clear day here, so we're visual. And we are now basically I'm going to use this town as a visual reference because we're going to turn north. Fly that a little ways until we hit the ILS, which is right behind us. And then we'll start descending. And I'm just kind of looking at the map to see where we're at. Alright, so we're going to begin... a half rate turn and just go till we're facing north. Turning. You can see the runway. We're also coming up. Just gonna, well, just like we do at the altitude hold, we're gonna gently bring it back to center before we hit the center button, and then try to see that again. We're gonna go ahead and run the before landing checks.
Setting flaps 20.
Got the runway right there. So you see we're gonna be making a left turn, bringing it down. I'm going to go ahead and take altitude control off. We're now within 10 miles. We still have a turn to make, but...
20 flaps set. Masters Ridge, please.
we want to start losing altitude.
Mixture set. Gear up and down, please. Gear up and down.
And this will help us keep our speed under control.
Down and locked, 3 rings. Props. 2400 RPM.
And now we're going to go give it a full right turn.
2400 RPM set. Cow flaps.
We may overshoot it a little bit here.
Cow flaps set. ADI. ADI off. ADI is off.
And you can see the needles coming in.
Landing lights. Speed good. Extending lights.
And at this point I'm going to take control. We're going to bring the power back. Now we're at 7 miles, and we are at... looks like 2,300 feet.
Carbine. Call it call. Set call. Before landing checks complete.
I'm going to give us another knock of flaps, take us down to 30. And probably another knock just to try and get it, help us catch up to the glide slope here. You can see we're a little high. So we can go ahead and go full flaps. And now we get the glide slope trending in the right direction. We're at 5 miles. Speed's good. Getting a little to the left. Glide slope's coming in, so I'm going to bring us back up 1 notch. And it didn't do what I thought. We'll just keep an eye on where we're at with these. Flaps 30, flaps 40. And now we're looking good on the glide slope. And we should be in flaps 40. And at at 70 BMEP, theoretically this should take us down to the runway pretty nicely. See, we're getting a little low now. Actually going to come back up off the flaps a little bit. Flaps 30. Speed's still good. Now we're really dumping speed. Dumping altitude there. Try and get back on target. We're very fast now, so this is going to be the tricky part here. Speed's coming down. You go ahead and idle power. Just bring the nose up. Don't fight it. And welcome home. So not bad. Notes. Make sure I'm going the right way. We're doing pretty well. We dumped right at that last bit. We started losing a lot of altitude fast, and we started getting behind the glide slope. So we did have to add a little power there. Better to add power and upset the engines than hit the trees. But yeah, so the bottom came out a little bit. But we were able to save it, and then, yeah, once we got it in full LAF landing flaps, over the runway, over the threshold, and then cut the power, it settled nicely. So even though we were pretty fast, really hitting the runway, I felt like we were up at 130, and I didn't want to land that fast. Once we got it back under control, back into an acceptable place, it was much better behaved, and it dropped that speed pretty quick, so that was good. Good stuff, another happy landing. And we'll just go ahead and taxi on back to parking. So welcome back to Mildenhall, everybody. I'm just going to pull up here to leave the engines running for flight recorder. But what we will do is pull up, and then we'll figure out where we're going next. So we'll pull up ahead of our parking space. And there we go. Parking brake on, and let's see what our orders are. Alright, we've got another one. A Berlin milk run. We're going to be taking command of the DC-6. Overcast morning in Berlin. It says EDDB, but we're going to do Tegel again. We're going to be flying back here, so it's another relief mission for us, flying out of Berlin into Mildenhall. Should be fun, and I will see you all then. We're going to hop into the replay, and then we'll get everything shut down and set up for next time. So that's it for our flight today. As always, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, ideas, leave them in the comments section below. As always, appreciate the support. And yeah, if you want to see more of this stuff, please subscribe below. That's it for VFR tonight. Take it easy, everybody.